Welcome back to our software design and development unit. In today's lesson we are going to look at conditional loops. We're going to look at how instructions can be repeated an indefinite number of times through the use of a conditional loop. We'll learn how to ensure data entered into a program is valid through the use of conditional loops. Our success criteria for today's lesson is as follows. I can describe the purpose of a conditional loop and identify when it's appropriate to use one. I can implement the conditional loop structure while. I can implement the conditional loop structure do until. I can implement the standard algorithm input validation. As always, we should refer back to our success criteria throughout the lesson. This will allow us to judge our progress. We previously learned about unconditional loops. This is where the programmer sets the number of iterations. Conditional loops involve iterating an indefinite number of times. This is when the programmer does not know how many iterations or how many times a section of code must be repeated. An example of a conditional loop is a while loop, as shown in our example here. In this example of the while loop, we can see the structure. While the condition is true, it will execute the instructions inside the loop. The condition of the loop is checked at the start of the structure. In this example, while password is not comp sci. If this condition is found to be false, the computer will not enter the loop. In other words, if password is comp sci, then this condition will be found as false and will not enter the loop. If this condition is true and the password is not comp sci, then we will enter the loop and the user will get a second opportunity to re-enter that password. Be careful with this type of loop. If the condition never becomes false, the loop may iterate indefinitely. This is an excellent construct for programmers, particularly when we don't know how many times a user will make a mistake, but we want to ensure that the correct data is entered. We'll speak more about this later. A second type of conditional loop is a do loop until. A do loop until will iterate until a certain condition is true. In this example, it will loop until password equals comp sci. The loop condition in this example is checked at the end of the loop structure. Remember, our while loop, this condition was checked at the start. In this example, this means that the computer will always execute the code in the loop at least once. Conditional loops such as our do while and do loop until are used for input validation. Input validation is the first standard algorithm in computing science we will learn about. Input validation is a standard algorithm or a series of steps to ensure that data input given to the program is correct. Input validation is often used for checking passwords. Here's an example of this. In the code that we see here, a password is being input via an input box. That password is then being checked at the start of the while loop. So while password is not comp sci, it is checking that condition. If this condition is false and it is comp sci, then we will not enter the loop and execute the code within the loop. We will miss that out and simply print out entry gained in our list box. If that condition is true and password is not comp sci, we will enter the loop, giving the user a new opportunity to enter that password. We will then go back round the loop and check the condition again. If the condition is false and the password is now comp sci, we will exit the loop and we will print entry gained. If again the condition is true and it is not comp sci, we will follow the same process. This will continue until the password has been successfully entered an indefinite number of times. Thank you for listening to today's lesson. Please remember to visit regular and subscribe to our faculty YouTube channel, Grive High Business and Computing Science. Stay tuned for more new videos.